So as I've mentioned elsewhere here on the channel, I kind of think alternating thumb gets a bad rap. And it's characterized as this sort of folky sound, when in fact, you can do a lot of really great grooving blues things with the alternating thumb. In this lesson, I want to show you 3 things that can help you dial in that sound so that when you play alternating thumb, it doesn't sound wimpy and folky, but it sounds popping and grooving. Here we go. So the real key to making the alternating thumb groove is to play what musicians refer to as subdivisions. So all that means is that if your thumb is doing this, no, that doesn't feel particularly grooving. But if you have these in-between sounds where you're making noise on the ands, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, it starts to have more of a pulse, because without the ands, you can't tell whether you're playing straight 8s or swing 8s. Right? Is it or is it? And both can groove, but you need those subdivisions or those 8th notes in between the quarter notes to tell what's going on with the groove. Another thing is the syncopation. So syncopation really just means putting emphasis where the emphasis is not expected. That's the offbeats. So if you're playing everything the same weight and the same volume, also will not feel grooving. But if some of those 8th notes pop out and some of them are more in the background, and some of them last longer, the ones that are louder are lasting longer, and some of the ones that are quieter or shorter, they're just kind of providing, just some texture. And finally, there's the technique involved in making this happen, which has a lot to do with what's going on over here. The left hand, or the fretting hand, is basically doing this little dance all the time where it's all the way down to the fingerboard so you can hear the notes, and then it's relaxing so that you're getting these damped notes, so that you're getting more of a percussive sound than an actual note. And again, it's just like with the dynamics and with the, how much you emphasize a note, how long you let it linger, having an effect on the syncopation and the feel. The difference and the contrast between the fully played notes that you really hear and the ones that are just being played more for their percussive quality, like the interplay between those, is also a really important factor in the whole groove. So all of those things are at play. And a lot of what's going on is that the thumb is really playing notes kind of out loud that you really hear on 1 and 3. And then it's playing these ghost notes or these scratched notes on 2 and 4, which is the backbeat, which is where the snare plays. That's where you want to hear those accents. And so that, even if you just play that, you have the basis of a groove. And I'm doing it just by leaving my fretting fingers relaxed on the offbeats, on 2 and 4, on the backbeat. So if we put together that groove just one measure at a time on, say, an A minor chord, we've got the thumb going from the 5th string to the 4th string and the 6th string to the 4th string. But every time we hit beats 2 and 4, we're relaxing the grip in the fretting hand. And then, to start with, just try playing the index finger on every and. And for now, just leave the fretting hand relaxed, because we're going to get these 2 bass notes. Those are going to be played full volume. And then everything else is a damped note. And from there, try pressing down the chord on the end of 4. And then making sure that it's relaxed by the and of 1. So, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. Now you could also brush up so that you get both the 3rd and the 4th string on the end of 4. You could also do that by bringing your index finger over to the 4th string and using your middle finger on the 3rd string, and then going back to index finger on the end of 1. And you could hold it down longer until the top of beat 2. And that is the basic idea. It can expand outward from there, but that is the overall idea of getting more of a groove out of the basic alternating thumb style. Now, that is cool in and of itself, but the implications for that damped 4th string are huge when it comes to playing melodies and getting around the neck. Because if you're basically playing a dead note with no real pitch on the 4th string, then there are a lot of ways to cover that 4th string, which means you can now start to play melodies out of open position, maintain that alternating thumb groove, and not have to worry about what's really going on the 4th string beyond just making sure that some finger is damping it. So So really, it's just this kind of playing sloppy where you're not trying to get the notes, you're letting these other fingers drape across the strings in whatever sort of general area they need to be in to get the lick you're trying to get. So if I slow down what I was just doing, so if you're just in this open position, basically this finger, this middle finger, is going to be damping this note, not even necessarily by being on top of it, but just by being next to it, being close to it where the some part of the finger is still touching that string. And as you get up the neck, then as you go for these notes, none of this really needs to be here with the, what is this, the middle and the ring finger, but they're there because they're providing that muting that you need on the 4th string. And it takes a little bit of practice to get it so that you can get the notes you want, and you may need to slow the whole thing down a lot, but that means that you can start to play more freely and you can improvise while doing the alternating thumb and get out of open position all at the same time, so that you can do things like play melodies like or you can start to improvise, or you can, start with that groove and add a few little licks in. So that's the idea. And so obviously you could also use this in other keys as well. It works great in E, it works great in C. It works great anytime you need to use the alternating thumb groove, because that's what the song calls for, but you want to give it a little more grit and a little more edge and not just feel like you're playing a bunch of rolling, open, arpeggiated strings. So If you are a fingerstyle guitar player interested in learning more techniques for playing fingerstyle blues, in tightening up your right hand groove, developing your chord vocabulary, your repertoire of tunes, and learning to improvise, I encourage you to check out my membership, the Fingerstyle 5, which you can learn more about at the link on screen or the link below. And if you've got a question or a comment about today's lesson, please leave it for me down below. I would love to hear from you. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.